Okay, so super excited here. Episode 2 of Meet the Goddess. We welcome our wonderful goddess Debra here with us, and we just had a beautiful chat a couple of weeks ago, and it was amazing the shift that it happened within me just in that little an hour chat that we had. So I'm gonna tell you about it later. But in the meantime, welcome and just introduce yourself. Tell us more about what you do, your work, your wonderful healing, because I'm mad to hear more about it.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to talk about this work, this precious work that is, so close to the hearts of all women, whether mums waiting to be mums, or mums who have lost as well. So, so I work across the whole. I call it all things baby. Um, so I help women from preconception. So that might be conscious conception. So and that's all smooth, but you're just interested in connecting with your baby. So I'm the baby spirit communicator. So I can tune into their energy and they come and talk to us, and what do they need, and whatever messages they've got. Some are very chatty, some are very it's like life before life. So it's depending on how you feel about life before life. But we're all energy, so these beautiful baby spirits are connected to you long before they actually arrive physically in the world. So I help mums connect in with their baby spirits. That's one thing that I do, and that's on a very kind of spiritual level, obviously. So there's the conscious conception if you're wanting to, so guiding you to empower women to connect in with their baby souls before they arrive. But also a lot of my work is around women who've been struggling to conceive and may have been years on this really tough journey. Wondering why it's not happening, and and the doctor said, well, we can't explain it. But I always think there's a bigger explanation to what's going on. There's always a bigger picture. And so I had a cuddle with one of the babies the other day because they live very close to me. So just it's just beautiful work when you, and as a mum, you can feel the energy of your baby, and then see them in your arms physically. So I help mums and babies meet, and if that's the path, help them come into the world. But I also help women who have experienced baby loss, if that's miscarriage or termination, or or towards the end of the pregnancy as well. So really kind of desperately sad. But again, it's helping women to connect in with themselves, their experience, and find some peace and resolution. And if that's the choice of their baby spirit who chose not to stay, because we often feel as women we're on our own with this, and it's our fault, and especially when things don't go according to plan. And the same with birth trauma, because I work a lot with women with birth trauma as well. And even if your birth is completely smooth and how you wanted it to be, I would recommend having a birth matrix to go back into the moment, to help your earliest self, if you like, with any trauma that's coming up. But it's that finding that peace and resolution, because often we feel like we just have to get on with it. We feel like it's all our fault. We blame ourselves. What did I do wrong? What didn't I do? What's wrong with me? We come out and we just really, we're having a bad enough time as it is, and we make ourselves feel even worse by the things that we say. And this is, what those thoughts are. I think the reasons why we do that are so unique to each person, but generally it does go back to our, they are so far from the truth of who you are, that they go back to our conditioning, even to our own birth, and our experiences and decisions we made there. So it's really to help women to have a look at, really explore what thoughts they're carrying themselves, and realise that their babies are on this journey with them together, whether that's you're struggling to conceive, your baby's chosen not to stay, or you've released your baby, or your birth didn't quite go according to plan. There's always something bigger, and I think once we can understand the reason why that's happened, the gift, if you like, and I absolutely know, having experienced 3 miscarriages and medical termination as well, due to complications, that you know, it's far from a gift.
Mm.
Absolutely. And birth trauma. Hey, I've been through the whole lot. But you know, it's far from a gift, but the gift is in what is it showing us? What does it mean? What buttons is that pushing us, you know? And and you know, a lot of the time it is that I'm not good enough, or I'm a failure, or I don't deserve, you know. And so our babies are on this journey with us, very much on this journey with us together, and they are offering whatever experience you're having on your journey to motherhood. It's always an opportunity, if you like, to look within and to begin your own healing journey. And when we are feeling more whole, more at peace, and we find resolution to those, you know, difficult experiences, then, you know, babies, babies are
Yeah.
waiting. You're waiting for your baby's waiting for you. And it's just finding out what they're waiting for. And they're around to tell us, so we need to start listening. So I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever, but basically our babies are with us on our journey to motherhood, and very much an opportunity, you know, to explore and connect with ourselves,
Yes.
and heal all of that stuff from the past, even going back to our own births.
It definitely makes a lot of sense as um, the mother-child relationship is such a focal point of our life. Like it really is so
Mm.
powerful. I did a little bit of family constellation in the past, and I remember the facilitator at the time just making the point how mother-daughter relationship was such an important line, but she was kind of disconnecting the mother-son. It was more father-son, and she was forgetting all of that part of mother-son relationship. So I remember at the time that didn't make much sense to me, but I'm a daughter, so it was like, okay, well, look, I'll work with my mother-daughter relationship. And only recently I met a guy that was actually, instead having a totally different view, I was saying how even the mother-son relationship is really, really, really important. And it to me makes sense that way, but I would like to know what's your view in that. So like in your experience, have you seen
Mm.
that it works for both son and daughter as equally?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that the mother relationship is is the key to everything. So if we can heal that relationship, and that doesn't necessarily mean heal the relationship physically with that person, but with ourselves. You know, whatever that relationship has been with our mums, to heal whatever that brought up for us, you know, within ourselves, because that, you know, that's the healing. I really honestly feel that a lot of, you know, it's the mother wound is really quite deep, um, and this is, you know, unintentional, and most of the time, you know, I know we have some very horrendous, you know, a lot of have horrendous experiences, and I also work with people who've been adopted as well, you know, and that's a real kind of relinquishment and abandonment, a real deep mother wound. Um, but I feel if, you know, this mother wound, it affects everything that we do, and you know, on the whole, this is not because there's anything intentional about it. It's just, you know, who we are. There's no judgment around this at all. Um, you know, it's to think of the bigger picture of what, you know, the learning within that, and definitely affects sons as well as daughters, of course. And interestingly, there's more men that are coming to see me now. In fact,
Right.
um, yeah. In fact, the first baby spirit I ever communicated with was when I had a male client come in, and he was here there to talk about his career. But you know, the baby spirit had other other ideas, so that was really fascinating. But also, you know, because I don't want to talk about my clients necessarily, but because that, you know, that's just not, you know, that doesn't feel appropriate. But they have the same, you know, we're all born, we're all human, we all need that first, you know, we've chosen to come in
Yeah.
to this relationship, and you know, for whatever reason, that, you know, that is the way that you've come in,
Yeah.
And you might have chosen them because they're so loving, or you might have chosen them because they were the opposite of that. You know, because those are the experiences your soul wanted. Obviously, we won't choose these things on conscious level. But all the time in the room, you're with your mum, and you're not separate. You're, you know, when you're a baby in the room, when you're a baby, you know, all the way up until about, I think it's like 2 or 3. You know, we're just the same. We don't see ourselves as separate from the mother, and we're always looking to, you know, keep that connection, and that connection is so important. So if you think of a baby who's born and they're whisked off into an incubator, you know, and obviously that's saving their life and needs to happen. But in their minds, they've been in this beautiful safe space, and their whole building up to this relationship, they've built this relationship with the mother, and all of a sudden, that person who is their safety zone, you know, their person, is not there anymore, and you know that's trauma. So we need to be really aware and conscious of how we're treating babies, dealing with babies, welcoming babies into the world, because the way we're born really does affect, really kind of, you know, kind of play out in our whole lives. And you know, just talking about induction, for instance, and you know, this can really bring up patterns of I can't do it on my own, I've got it wrong, or I'm not ready. So I'm not ready. I'm just not ready. Why are you making me do something? So, you know, we see those toddlers that we're trying to get them out the door really quickly, and they're screaming and shouting, and they're, you know, really upset by that. It's because that's triggered back to that moment of what is happening. I'm not ready. Why are you making me?
On that point, actually, what comes to mind is it's actually really so amazing, this work, because I'm just reflecting as you're speaking, and my daughter, my firstborn Anya, she was a nightmare, and she has been a nightmare to wake up, you know, after her nap in the afternoon or after her night sleep. When you went to wake her up in the morning, she was so cranky. Now, I mean, she could cry, and it's only when I had my second child I realized that children can just wake up peacefully, and I didn't know that was possible. But she, when I started the contractions and for labor, they started monitoring her heartbeat, and it wasn't going fast enough. So they were very concerned. They even talked about C-section for a while. They were really worried, and I was like, oh, it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and I knew that time Anya would, I didn't know she was Anya yet. I didn't know her if she was a boy or a girl yet, but I knew she was asleep, because she used to sleep at that time, and she used to be really awake in the early part of the night, and then at that time she used to sleep. So they gave me the induction to see if that would give her the bit of boost and get the heart going a bit faster, and it actually worked. So obviously they woke her up. She was not ready. She was fast asleep, just having her rest before getting into the full labor experience, and she got woken up. So I don't know, am I right or wrong to say this, but it seems like it makes an awful lot of sense that after that, waking up has been such a traumatic experience for her every time.
Yeah, because when she's been woken up, then suddenly she's like, you know, coming out into the world, and like, oh, if you know, it's a shock.
Yes.
It's a shock. So we don't know, but if we went into the memory, so how this work works is that, you know, we feel that, like, how does, you know, going back into the energy, we always follow the energy, because we can never consciously link these things. It kind of makes no sense. We follow how we feel about it, and so we would follow back how you feel about how the birth of Anya now, and we take you back into that moment, and you become your own healer. So it's so empowering. It's so empowering feeling. So often birth can be so disempowering. You know, all the medical stuff comes in, and other people are making decisions, and you know, you're just trying to focus and zone in, and you want to do the best thing, and it's, you know, that so many other things are going on, and you know, you would walk into that scene and really help your earlier self. okay, how are you feeling? Because you know, as a mum, we're naturally intuitive. We all know ourselves. We all know our babies. And you knew she was asleep. And
Yes.
and so you could go, so what you would then do is you would help yourself. You would, we'd do some energy healing using color, or yes, tapping, or whichever energies come in. And then you would be able to talk to Anya as well, because we're all just energy. So the energy imprint, if you like, is still there. So you would be able to have communicate with Anya in that moment, say, and prepare her. So go, you go before the time and you say, okay, Anya, we're going to have to wake you up at this particular time, and just to release that shock. And then the magic of this work is that it's energy. There's no such thing as time. So you can actually change the way that you feel, change the way that she feels about the birth. You're not changing the memory, you're changing the way that you and both she feel about it. So then you can recreate the birth in whichever way you would choose to recreate it. And the most important thing, of course, is being bonding. That connection at the end, and you're looking down eye to eye with your beautiful baby.
Yes.
Feeling amazing, feeling empowered, feeling like you've done it. So this is the beauty of this work, because it not only helps the mum feel unstuck and stops those thoughts going round and round in your head, or what if I'd done this, or what if this. It massively, beautifully helps your baby, and it'd be really interesting. I don't know if does she still wake up feeling
She's
like that?
better now, because she's nearly 9 years old, so now she's better. But I know still now she hates to be rushed. If I had to go somewhere very fast, and I'd be like, Anya, you really need to put your clothes on now. We really need to get breakfast. We really need to go. And that, you see, like, there is a total resistance to that. But what I love about what you're saying is that sense of empowerment, because should we give birth, I can only give birth to Anya once. So I've always felt like that experience has gone the way it's gone, and it's gone forever. And I can't actually just go back and change it. So you feel very powerless in that sense. So to actually hear you saying, well, you can go, not only you can go back, you can change the pattern, you can change the feeling of it. And you can also, by doing that, change in the feeling for Anya, so for your child, even though she's not even involved in the healing physically, but you can make it. This is just amazing. It is really.
It's so beautiful, and it doesn't matter what age your child is. Recently there was someone who's 19, or mum, daughter, and the daughter was 19, but go back to the birth and completely change the atmosphere in a house living with a teenager, because you've gone back and talked to them, said, what did you feel like? Did you feel stuck? Did you feel I let you down? Whatever it was. My own son, obviously I've gone back and done the birth, gone back and spoken to him, and he was saying, I just wanted you to move. I felt like he was stuck, he needed to move on too. And he said, I just wanted you to move. Why couldn't you move? All you needed to do was move. So he really felt like I let him, but I couldn't move because I'd had an epidural, and why I'd had an epidural. Anyway, that's like I didn't really need, it was a medical thing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't move, so I couldn't give him what I wanted, and therefore he couldn't shift to move. So he felt like I'd let him down, so I'd already disappointed him from before he knew and two, he felt frustrated that he couldn't do it himself. So that, and so we could never, and also he felt very dependent, because once you can this things with dependency, actually, because they need help they need someone there, they need help to come out, and they also feel like they failed in some way, and we could never leave him at playgroups, or even when he was like 6, going to pub fevers, or or parties, you couldn't leave him. He needed you to be there. After that, after I changed that feeling and said, I'm so sorry, I couldn't leave, explain it, changed the feeling around it, changed the memory for me and for him, and he was suddenly off at parties without a second glance. He didn't have that dependency so strongly. So, it was really, really powerful, beautiful stuff that, for mum and baby, which
Yeah, yeah, that sounds amazing. It does. And I just a question that has popped into my mind now. Like, how would that work? Or would that work, for example, if a person came to you saying, "Well, I have been adopted, so I have no idea who my parents are," but could that work with the person to actually heal that birth, that feeling of probably rejection and being a failure? Because if your parents give you away just after birth, it does feel as a failure at some point. And I know from talking, that hasn't been my experience, but I know from talking with clients that have been through that process, and they have suffered massively then in life afterward because of that.
I know adoption is, yeah, I mean, it's so huge. So, I mean, gently, we go gently, you know, very, very gently and very, very slowly. This is not like a, you know, often we can, you know, so often we, like me and you could go back to your birth and, you know, one session would change everything, you know, potentially, depending on what else is going on, because we never know.
Yes.
But with adoption, you know, it's slowly, slowly, slowly. Because I think what the issue with adoption is, you know, that's trauma from the very beginning. So if you think that you know, you've had, so we experienced birth trauma as mums potentially, perhaps, but we knew what we had, we had, we knew what it was like to live without the trauma. We knew what we were like before that happened. So we have a memory of getting back to what we were like before having all this stuff going on and our, you know, this continual stuff and this feeling of, you know, disappointment or whatever it might be that we're feeling. But when you're adopted, you don't know yourself. You don't have that. You don't know yourself before. You've only ever known yourself to be in trauma. You've only ever known yourself to be given away. You've never known yourself, you know, so that's where it's really tricky. So this is where energy work comes in,
Right.
and how I work with that is, you know, to set the intention, because our subconscious minds run 90 to 95% of our mind, you know, our conscious mind, our logical mind. If that's our willpower, you know, this is like the Nokia, and your subconscious mind is NASA's supercomputer. So in there somewhere is a memory and or an energy, and that could be it could be a representation of a memory that you've seen or heard on the telly, but it's there. The energy of that, the feeling of being wanted, is in there somewhere. It could be from a past life, and I work with past lives, and often go
Yes.
back to past lives because we're carrying stuff, you know, but we're also carrying stuff from our ancestors. You know, science has shown this now. So, oh my God, if you imagine all this stuff.
It's such
Right?
a big bag that we carry on.
Oh my goodness. The stuff we shouldn't have to deal with in this lifetime. But this is what we're here for. We're here to understand ourselves at such a level, not just from this lifetime, but, you know, all our whole soul. We're huge. You know, we hold so much wisdom and knowledge, and it's about remembering that about ourselves. This is basically why we're here. So for adoption, we set the intention of going back to accessing that file, wherever it is in the energy field, of that feeling of I'm wanted, I'm worthy, I'm loved. And then we bring that energy into the cells, into the memory, into the body, and we re-imprint it. So they have a good chance of feeling wanted, to start releasing those feelings of abandonment. It's a wound and it's trauma, and so we need to, you know, help slowly, gently release that trauma by bringing in those feelings. I know what it feels like to be wanted. How light does that feel? You know, compared to I was given away. It's like, whoa, you know. But we find that energy within us, within the energy field, wherever it's come from, and bring it in. And in terms of birth, because, you know, of the ideal, not obviously, but the ideal, I guess, would be to re-imprint with your mum. For some people, that's, you know, they're not quite there yet. There's too much in the way. So we bring in. Well, it's just, you know, it's the connection. So who would you like to catch you when you come out? Who would you like to hold you And it could be an angel. It could be Mother
Mm.
Mary. It could be a grandma. It could be your best friend. It could be your husband. It could be, it could be God. It could, it's literally whatever your subconscious mind, because everyone has their own answers. So whoever it is, you say, who would you like to hold you when you come out? And you're asking their baby self this to remember, and their baby self is so close to source at that stage. So they will know who they want. And if they say their mum, they say their mum. If they, it doesn't have to be the mum.
Mm.
The important bit is that they have the connection, that they feel that connection. Because we're hardwired to need that connection, eye to eye. So yeah, it's kind of complicated with that one, but
Oh, but
um,
it makes a lot
beautiful.
of sense,
Mm,
and it's very profound. And I have in mind a couple of friends of mine and people I know that have been through that. And there was one particular woman. She did a family constellation workshop with me, and it was so powerful when she actually got to hug her real mother. It was
oh,
such a healing bond. It was just amazing. It was just absolutely amazing. But that was a particular environment. It was really safe. And of course, the person that were facilitating were absolutely brilliant in that.
mm,
But not everybody is so open to actually, she was very open and she knew what she was doing. She really wanted to get to that connection. But that's what
mm,
I was asking you. And I
yeah,
absolutely get the whole
mm,
slow process and gently
mm,
heal the wounds and get there step by step. So that
mm.
is absolutely amazing.
And it's that feeling, of the birth mother. Yeah, yeah, it's the connection.
Mm.
Having that connection is the key.
But sure, as
Mm.
human, that's what it all is, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
connection. That's what we're all starved and mad
yeah,
for. And
yeah.
it's like anywhere you work in healing, it's always some connection, and ultimately it just
Mm.
brings us back to the
Yeah,
connection with ourselves, really.
yeah,
That,
that's it. Because whenever we're striving for something, or we're feeling empty, or we're feeling, it's all about bring yourself back into connection with yourself. You
yes,
know,
yes,
with,
yes.
really knowing yourself. And when you know yourself, then it brings self belief. And when you've got self belief,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely. Um, I know from chatting to you before that you have an absolutely powerful story to share, as in your own story of how you came to this work, which I know also helps a lot all the people that might be listening that might have been going through baby loss and miscarriage and stuff. So if you would like to share a little bit about your story, because it moved me incredibly when I heard it first when we chat.
Oh, okay. Yes. So, uh, where do I start? I start at the beginning. Yeah, so I've mentioned that I experienced birth trauma with my first son, Max. So I've got an 11-year-old and a beautiful 6-year-old, um, little miracle boys, and went into the whole motherhood thing without even questioning. Of course, I'm going to be a mom. Why would there be a problem?
Yeah.
Everything, just unaware actually. um, and pregnancy was fine, and actually Max was the first baby that I communicated with, because this was before the 12-week scan, and I was just lying relaxing. And if you do want to communicate with your babies, it's finding it's just all it's time. It's not time. It's finding time for you, emptying your mind. So I must have just been sitting there completely with a blank mind, and I heard him say, "Hi, Mum. My name's Jack." And I was like, "Oh," and it just felt so natural. And this some babies aren't so chatty, they'll communicate with feelings or something else. But if you do want to communicate with your baby, they are very much there. Wanting to communicate with you. So that was the first thing. Anyway, we didn't call him Jack, but obviously he's Max. But so anyway, all the pregnancy was beautiful. Then I experienced, just birth trauma, and not very well supported at the time. The majority of the birth,
Yes.
all of that. Anyway, so kind of, but what also happens is that when we become mums, all of our stuff from our own births or our own childhood experiences kind of come rushing up and smack you in the face. So things like postnatal depression, and it's really, if we can explore where it's come from, and a lot of it I found to with my clients' experience is it's unresolved issues from your own time with your mother. This is, and my mum was amazing. Thankfully, I chose so well. But it was, I had an awful lot of operations when I was little, so I separated quite a lot and quite a lot of trauma. But so it was being in hospital actually that was kind of rushing back, and I think postnatal depression, if we can explore where it's come from, it's not just suddenly arrived. You don't just suddenly, there's hormones and everything, but it really triggers you back into your child's self. So that's just, keep that in mind. Anyway, so got on, and then just, as we do when we're not very aware and awake, oh, it's fine, I'll just get on with it, even though I feel blah, 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 it's just normal, I'll just get on with it. And then I became pregnant, unexpectedly, but very joyously. So we were like, oh, okay, they're going to be close in age, that'll be great. And then that was my first miscarriage, and quite full on shocking, ended up in hospital, all of that. But also again, oh, it happens to 1 in 4 women. Oh, it happens all the time. It's just one of those things, completely not in tune with my emotions. So then we thought, okay, no, actually, we are obviously ready for a second child. So let's really start, let's actually consciously do that now. So I ended up getting pregnant 2 more times, but both times miscarriages. And by that stage, and again, completely unawake, and my heart had closed. And I didn't even know that my heart was closed, and that I was feeling all bitter and angry because I didn't allow myself to feel. I felt like a bit of a victim, if I'm honest, and just like, oh, why, why's that happening to me? And then we got pregnant again. And this time was with my beautiful Rosa. And throughout the pregnancy, I just had this sense, and she actually came and spoke to me and said, "Mummy, I'm sick." And so I was kind of prepared. It's almost like she prepared me. And we got to the 12 weeks. So it's like, oh my gosh, we've got to 12 weeks. Everything is fine. But I had this, she's been speaking to me, "Mummy, I'm sick." And I was like, oh, so, after the scan, what does it look like? How is it? And then, oh no, it's all looking fine. I thought, oh, okay, maybe I'm just making it up. Maybe it's the fear from all the miscarriages. And as time went on, it just wasn't going. I don't know. It was just, I just knew. As mums, we know. We are so in tune with our babies. We know. I was pretending not to know. So eventually, we did have all of these things going on in scans, and it was, and it was discovered that Rosa did have these genetic complications. And would she survive? Would she survive the pregnancy? If she did survive the pregnancy, how long would she be around? What would her life be like? And then we had to think, I was 40 at the time. Does that put the pressure on Max? If because we're going to be older parents, and what if anything happens? And all of this kind of blowing mind stuff.
Yes.
And so we were left with a choice, but it was effectively my choice. And we were left with a choice: do we continue with the pregnancy, or do we just release now? And I use that word very consciously, release.
Yes.
And not that I said that word at the time, because I was being very hard on myself, and I was pulling, and it's just awful, the things that we do to ourselves and say to ourselves. You wouldn't dream of saying that to a friend who was going through the same thing. Anyway, so this decision was made, and I felt like I had to make that choice. So made that choice, and I honestly, that's when I finally surrendered to the overwhelm of emotions from all of the other losses. It just came kind of tumbling down, and I sort of broke a little bit. And that it's in these moments, and I'm sitting out in the back garden, and just thinking, why? I'm feeling really sorry for myself and all of that stuff. And if I saw a pregnant woman, I would be happy, and then instantly I would be reminded that of that I, you know, that of what had happened. And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking, I was like, what? This isn't me. So I was sitting in the back garden looking up, and this beautiful robin came and landed. I was looking at the garden, and it was really like looking at me, and I was thinking, oh, and robins are from, you know, their signs from spirit.
Yes.
And I was thinking, oh, okay. And I was like, I'm not this bitter person. I'm not this sad person. I don't want this. Why? Like, imagine if I'm going to spend my whole life feeling this tormented and bitter and so much shame. So much shame. I didn't even tell anyone. There was one person, two people at work I told, and I worked for a Catholic agency, so that also added to a bit of trauma. Not that in Catholic, but it was like the pressure of, oh my God. It was very interesting times. But the shame of it meant I
Yes.
wasn't able to allow myself to talk about it. Anyway, and I was thinking, is this me? And then no, because I'm not bitter. No, I'm this, you know, and all of these lovely things that I am. And then I thought, who is this? Who is this person who isn't just bitter? You know, those are just energy. They're just emotions. They're not who I am. And I made the decision then. I'm going to find out who I am, and I'm going to find a way to help myself not feel like this any longer. And then that's when I went on my journey of, you know, and also my main question was, is there another baby out there?
Yeah.
You know, do I put myself through it and my family again?
Yes.
Do I put myself through it, taking responsibility again? You know, for any potential traumas or what might happen. And so my question out to the universe effectively was, is there another little soul waiting for me? And I knew there was, because I could feel them. I wasn't allowing myself to believe it. So myself, I needed outside confirmation at that time. Now I know that, you know, the inner confirmation is perfect. And so I went on this journey and, you know, started, and all these synchronicities happened, or leading to one thing to another thing to another, you know, and your life just unfolds and it all becomes making sense. And it was about 3 years after Rosa.
Yeah.
Had I had Samuel? No, it's actually, anyway, so I knew there was another soul. I met Samuel. So basically, long story short, Samuel introduced himself to me about a month before he was conceived. And
Oh,
do you know
yeah.
what? I thought I might need counselling throughout that pregnancy, just, you know, just to, I didn't need a single thing. I knew he was going to be okay. And this is what I would wish for all women, is just during their pregnancy, is to have that sense, even when there are those little fears, you know, when you're going for the scan, that was a big one for me. I was like, no, remember, just tune in. How's it feeling? It feels great. It's fine. And just to feel that confidence and that relationship, that togetherness with you and your baby, that, you know, everything's fine, you know, all is well, and to feel that, especially after baby loss, you know,
Yes.
to be aware if the fears come up, that they are fears, they're energies. There's a difference between a fear and a knowing, and just to allow your intuition. And then Samuel is here, 6, very vibrant and amazing. And that was, and because so basically through those experiences with the babies, it's led me to my life purpose, which is helping other women on their journey to motherhood, whatever that may look like. You know, because babies come to us in all sorts of ways, and that may well be egg donation. I had a lovely message about egg donation from because now I channel Rosa. I see Rosa's my baby spirit, but she's not. She's a huge, massive soul, and we're writing this book together
Yeah.
with insights from the spirit baby world. And this beautiful message about egg donation she came through was, you know, your babies have a choice of parents. They could choose another parent if you can't physically do it, but they don't
Yes.
want to choose a parent. They've chosen you, and that's, you know, they love you so much. They've chosen you. They could choose somebody else, but they don't. They've chosen you. So they'll go through all this machinations to the universe to bring the right egg and everything to you in the right time. I mean, just there's so many beautiful messages of hope, and the main thing is for us to always look within to find that connection with ourselves, and, you know, what's the feeling, what's the learning, what's the gift eventually.
Yes. Yes.
Eventually in the trauma, because there always is. And for anyone who has experienced any of that, and holding them all in love, and you know, if they choose to, they, you know, all you know, all is well, all can be well, and they don't have to feel the way they feel. You know, there's ways of changing, there's hope, there's understanding, and there's healing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, that is amazing. That really, every word feels so good. Um, it's, I found it hard at the beginning of my journey to actually get to term with this whole thing that you choose your own parents. And no harm to my parents who actually might be watching this at some point. They know I love them. But there were moments of contrast for sure. And especially with my mother, there were lots of moments. My mom left when I was about 11 or 12 years of age, and she moved to a different country. And so I had to remain back. My parents are separated, so there was a lot, and I grew up with very strong feeling of abandonment in a lot of senses, and I had to work through it quite a bit then with my partner, just to, to even let him out the door sometimes. You know, like at the beginning, it can be very hard and very, very painful. And I'm blessed because he really walked with me through this. He really understood, which is rare, and I'm very grateful for it.
Why you're with it?
But it was just when somebody actually pointed out to me that choosing my parents and actually choosing them to be far away from me a lot was such a conscious decision, because I'm quite an independent being. And I actually needed that freedom and that independence to be able, because somebody actually told me, but what if your mother was actually with you all those years? And I actually straight away realized, oh my God, yeah, I wouldn't have wanted her there. Like, I mean, half the things I've done, I could not have done. So it was really powerful. That actually kind of got me, oh yes, yeah, that actually was a choice that had a lot of sense back when I was up on the cloud. So it can be a little bit of a process to understand that you have actually chosen to be here in whatever family environment. And for some people it can be an obvious choice, as in the end it was for me. Really, I know that for other people it can be even more challenging to actually really fully accept that that's what they've chosen. But as you say, in every trauma, in every thing that we go through, there is powerful lessons there for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we, on the whole, I would say we choose our parents. There are, you know, because I do soul plan reading as well, and I get taken up into the planning room of you know, to find out what, you know, to tune into what their energy was like before they came down. And some have been asked to come in, you know, been chosen to come in and asked to come in because of the way the world is right now, to come in as the teachers and the healers. And others I found just wanted to get back here really quickly, and so they didn't really make that much of a choice. They just took they just said yes to the first person who said yes to them. So you know, it is a big miss. It is like huge. So you know, but on the whole, I would say that we choose our parents for many reasons. You know, generally we've known them before, been with them before, and if we can, and this is the hardest thing, is to remember that they, if someone isn't giving you what you need, then you know, particularly our mothers and our fathers, I feel that another wound is kind of deeper somehow. Is one, we're meant to fill that hole ourselves, but two, if we're all this pure light and we've all come down, then they are pure light, even if their behavior in this moment isn't pure light. But they have offered to lower, to forget that they're the light in order for you to grow. So it's a tricky one to get, because you're still, what, you know, because we're human and we have these, you know, you know, we can carry these resentments, and so constantly looking at, why do I feel resentful? Because it isn't who you are, and it can change. We can shift and transform those feelings of resentment and anger and bitterness. And you know, as you said earlier, it's all about coming back into connection and remembering who you are, and that you are not anyone else. You're not here to live anyone else's life. You're not here to please anyone else. You're
Yes.
here for you, you know, for your own growth.
Absolutely. I want to actually give you my experience since the last time we talked, just as powerful feedback for how amazing the work you do is. Like I was telling you the last time we were chatting that I have two children, and both the births were quite traumatic for me. And so that brought a very big fear about even considering ever having a third child. I was very, very scared, and every time I actually dreamt about being pregnant again, it was literally a nightmare. I would wake up in the morning going, "Oh my God, Mark," to my partner, like, "I dreamt I was pregnant. Oh no." Thanks God it was just a dream. It was properly like that. And we've discussed a little bit, like, would we ever have a third child? And it was always like point blank, absolutely not. I'm not going to go through that again. So after talking to you about this, and you explained to me how the work works and how you can change the feeling, the energy, and everything, well, I actually didn't do anything. I just was made aware by you of the power that we have to change that. And since then, I had two amazing dreams. And in one dream, I actually dreamt that I was pregnant, but I was saying to my husband, I don't feel nauseous. I don't feel sick. I actually feel really good. We were both really happy in my dream about this. And the second dream, I actually went through the whole labor. I actually gave birth, and it was such a smooth. It was just, I was like, I'm not even in pain. Like, this whole thing is just happening so easy, and it all so flowing. So I woke up going, wow. and we were chatting. I was like, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have a third child. So again, for my parents, if they're listening, don't need to worry. But it was just the possibility to actually even choosing whether to have it or not, but not out of fear of having to go through that experience again. It's like it gave me this knowing that I can actually go through a birth again and have a totally different experience. It's like I regain my power. And so I'm absolutely appreciative and grateful for you and having met you and your work, because that's the effect just a chat had with you. So I'd imagine like going for a proper healing, like how powerful it must be.
Oh, do you know, that's gorgeous. And just the fact that you were having those dreams, we know what needs to heal. And it's like, being curious all the time. I wonder why I'm having this dream. And, the fear of going through birth again, is either a big cause of secondary, not being able to have another child, or choosing not to. And this can be shifted, because it's just your mind telling you the last time that happened, it was dangerous and I didn't enjoy it. So it's just, it's about easing that stress response in your mind, reimagining, feeling very different about your birth. Your dreams are very they're signs of, okay, that needs healing. Just as someone who comes along and for me at the time, it was a pregnant woman coming along would bring up all of this emotion. It's a sign. Our emotions are signs to what would be good to explore a little bit. And do we really want to feel like that, or is this good for me, or is this making me feel good? No, it's not. Okay, I'm gonna change it, because it can be changed.
Yes.
It can be changed. We don't have to live with that. But I am so excited that you're, and what an amazing dream though. I've got confirmation for you that your dreams have shifted into that. Whatever happens in the future, but the feeling is gone. It means that's moved on. That trauma, that energy has been able to shift.
Yes, yeah,
I love that.
Oh, it was definitely amazing, because like my second child she's turning 5 now in 2 weeks. So it's been a long time of being really, really scared of ever having to go through that again. So so it was a very powerful experience. Like, it's the very first time I actually had a positive dream, and it was 2 in a row. It was just within a couple of days from one to the other. It was just really going really, really well. So
That's
Um,
incredible.
we've been chatting for an hour, which
Oh my gosh.
it sounds crazy because it just goes. Like, I know it's always like that. I always say, oh yeah, 40, 45 minutes, but then chats are just so amazing that they just go on
Oh
forever.
dear.
But so anything else that you would like to add? And also, absolutely, how do people can get in contact with you? Where can they find you should they want to experience this amazing healing and amazing work that you do?
Yes, so my website is debrakilby.com.
Yes, perfect.
I'm on Facebook, Debra Kilby Healing, as well, and there's some. I've got a closed Facebook group for women who are struggling to conceive and also for baby loss. But if you go to my Debra Kilby Healing Facebook page, then all the information will be on there. And what else did you ask me?
If you had anything else that you would like to add.
I've got so much I've got to add. You could be here all day. No, mainly, ladies, knowing your power, you're winning. My goodness, you're winning. You're creative. You're powerful, and you can do anything. Anything is possible, and see your light. Know that you're on this journey with your baby. You're not on it alone. It's not all your decisions. It's not all your, it's not all down to you. So anything is whatever is going on for you. If you're not enjoying how you're feeling about it, it's a little nudge, a little signpost, a little opportunity to kind of explore that a little bit and turn that button off so it's not pushed anymore. So you can feel very differently to free up your life. Yeah, you're amazing. You're doing amazing, being amazing. You are amazing. And please, my heartfelt wishes for you to absolutely see your light.
Yes, couldn't agree more, and don't have anything else to add to that. That is just pure truth. We're here to be goddesses, and we're just so
Absolutely.
powerful.
So powerful, and we've been told that we're not, but we've been told we're not. That's not the truth.
Yeah, no, we know we are deep down.
Find our own truth. We find our own truth, and that's the truth. So, and huge amounts of love to you all.
Brilliant. That is amazing. And so that concludes our second episode of Meet the Goddess, and look out for episode 3 coming out soon. And so bye, Debra, and it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and surely we'll have you back again for another chat.
Thank you so much. It's been, I've loved it. Thank you so much. Your beautiful energy as well.
Thank you very much. Bye, dear.